to. This is Tanner, Brian, Jonathan, and Chad. Our project is happening in Code Wiki. This is some of the technologies that we use besides MVC Visual Studio, obviously. We had some stuff that use HTML5. We use InUnit for unit testing. We also use Ninject for dependency injection and inversion of control. A lot of had an icon for that. And we also have a lot of jQuery editing also. So these were some of the design goals that we had when we built the website. We wanted it to be really intuitive. So every element that's on the web page is in a place that you would expect it to be. There's nothing that's really new age thinking or something that's kind of wild. It's pretty basic. Minimalistic. We wanted it to be really simple, somewhat similar to the Google website. That was some of the inspiration for it. And we also wanted it to be fast. So when we look at the search, which will be the first thing that we demonstrate, you notice that everything loads in dynamically. So we try to avoid a lot of postbacks and a lot of things that slow you down. So these are the functional requirements that we got taken care of. You can just read it there. So we'll go ahead and demo it. So as I said, very minimalistic. We'll have Chad go ahead and search for these types of things. So what this does, this kind of shows up the keyword highlighting also. You notice reader.getString is highlighted, string in this code snippet at the bottom is highlighted also. We can try something else. Parsing strings. If you notice on this parsing string snippet, there's no code there, so that lets you know that it did the search and found it in either the title or in the tags. Obviously, this is in the title. Try something like user. So again, some of the same concept. You see users highlighted, you got some content, gives you a small listing of the code, and also this one is in the title, so you get no content here. And try C#. So here, these are all in the tags. So you get no code, and this kind of indicates to you that it's doing a tag search. So we'll move to the new snippet, which will let you create one. All right, so Chad, if you just go and start typing some very serious code, believable. So if you notice, like we were saying before, we wanted it fast, so we have this auto update. It's going to highlight. It's a very basic, like generic highlighter because it doesn't know what type of language it is, but it does give you some basic keyword highlighting, just something to give you an idea of what's going on. And it's also putting the line numbers there for you dynamically. So you can try to add tag. So we give you some options there to auto select, somewhat like IntelliSense. And if you click or either hit enter, it'll add it there for you. And even your own. So you can X those off. And then we can save it. So of course we didn't add a title, so that's empty. And that is Visual Studio. All of them are very familiar with. That is some beautiful code that is not working. So just go to the snippets. And we'll just have to click on it. Oh. This is interesting. Did not happen before. I'm afraid to tell you to do it. I really am. Well, I'll tell you what, Chad. Why don't we show them one of the extra features that we have here? go back to your snippet. So something that we thought would be pretty cool. Obviously, you're not always going to go into this and be typing code yourself. So we have a small add-in that will let you drag a code file, any code file, just drag it onto the window, and it'll go ahead and load it up for you. So once again, going back to our fast principle, we just want to make stuff really easy to deal with and really convenient. And you can also log in so we can show the account stuff. I was a little bit nervous. So, for the most part, that is what we have covered right now. And I'll look forward to questions.
What's under the users?
It's a list of, I think you can also create a user. So you can click on it. See, I'm really afraid to. Because the last thing was completely unexpected.
Gotta add that Claudio.
Am I correct? Yes.
Under whenever you're creating new students and inserting code, what languages does it handle?
It handles quite a bit.
If y'all took like an HTML document or tried putting, does it handle HTML?
I believe it does.
Okay.
I believe it does.
Like if y'all put like a text area or something, would it actually render the code? Would it render the code or just show like actual brackets text area?
Like if you type text area.
Yeah, like text area and brackets, and like would it actually do it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I will. Trust me, it's type, but it does. There's an attribute, I believe, on the controller that does that says not to check it if it's like code, because NBC does this thing if it thinks it's some malicious stuff and it sees code in an input, so you just turn that off.
Yes, sir. The controller to like check that code, make the preview come up, or is it a JavaScript bot?
The preview?
Yeah.
Chad, you can answer.
It's actually, we're using jQuery. It's actually a plugin for jQuery called Syntax Highlighter. But we did modify it because it didn't support like line wrapping for the
The
width.
first one we used actually
Right.
did that. It actually rendered based on that. And that's the one we used.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to point out the user experience. I've seen a lot of groups, and while it looks good, I personally don't want to look at that huge 400 pixel tall banner each time we get this. So this is it's got solid colors, it's a small UI, and you know it's not like it's going to be Facebook. We're not going to check this like at lunch. We're going to come in, do what we need to do, and get out. And I think this provides a really good place to do that.
We actually started off with a Wikipedia look, where we had the banner on the side with the menu and stuff, and after we changed it to
It's just much more sleek. It's very clean, and jQuery makes it on this side.
It looked like, and maybe I was just didn't see, when you created a new snippet, you did it before you logged in, and you were able to save it. So how was that? Do you do user-based information, or is it just a generic repository that's not tracking who's writing what?
Right. Yeah, it's not currently tracking the user to.
Okay.
So you can, so you can submit a snippet without logging in?
Can you guys go through one by one and briefly tell me exactly what you did?
I did a lot of the jQuery and JavaScript on the front end for the Ajax, like you see with search, and then I also did just some overall work on the views and look.
I tried to not break any of his jQuery or Ajax, trying to do the HTML and CSS for this. Did a lot of it, he did quite a bit as well, and helped me navigate through what I could touch and what I couldn't touch, because there was an awful lot of stuff being generated dynamically.
Pretty much everything on the back end side, I dealt with, from setting up the project structure, the views, the controllers, the services, setting up the dependency injection. Pretty much the majority of it. I think with the exception of the search that Tanner took care of, which was a search service, he took care of that. And the remainder of the back end.
I did various kind of odd jobs around the back end. Like I set up a few modules, and there was a image uploading example that I did that then like made it into the final project.
No, like I said, I worked with the search mostly. Did some of the unit testing. There's also related links in the group show that's displayed on the details page. Shows all the related links to that particular snippet based on content or title or tag.
I forgot to mention that, but we actually did the unit testing.
Why don't you show me?
So it's actually in the, those folders. There's control, testing, and services. So you can go into services. Snippet server test. Snippet service test.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
Yeah. There's a good reason
Why
for that
is
too.
it commented out?
There's a very good reason.
Nothing wrong.
Okay. It's really simple.
Because they don't pass.
No. They work. It's a really good explanation. What happened was I changed the constructor on a method that's being used in a bunch of these, and I changed it, and it broke all the tests. So it wouldn't even let me build the application. So-
Right, so they don't pass.
Right. Well, yeah, you are correct.
This is the original one.
Yeah.
They did pass though. One time.
When you take on a project and you go look at the unit tests and you see them all commented out, someone had to make this thing work. So they commented them all out. Here's what doesn't happen. I'm taking over your project, I'm not going to go and fix those unit tests. So then the project's not gonna have unit tests. Right?
Right.
So, like Brian Rigby in Discipline would say, you need to make them work. You know, it's another piece of vertical development, right? From the UI to the database to the unit test, and then you're done with that piece, right? Sometimes when you change a constructor and it breaks 1,000 things, guess what shouldn't have been leveraged quite so hard, you know? Back construction, right? Maybe you need maybe you need to implement a different pattern so that you don't have those kinds of dependencies all over the place, right? But it's good. I'm glad you guys, like, scroll down. Looks like you guys actually did right then. Which is good. I see you separated the project out. You used inversion of control.
Yeah.
What is inversion of control?
Basically, rather than instantiating the repositories in the controller itself, you send it into a constructor, which is called constructor injection. And when you send it in, it creates it there. So you send it in rather than having to create it, which creates like a coupling between the repository and the controller.
So in the controller in the constructor of the controller, if I specified that I wanted to use a SQL repository, and if I wanted to switch, I'd have to go into every controller's constructor and change it to in-memory. Which telling me you have to change the repository type. But with inversion of control, I get to change it in one place.
Yeah. And just
Switch
bind
it. Yeah. So we actually have a flag in the web config that says in-memory true or false. And if it's false, it uses SQL. And if it's true, it uses in-memory. So if we go to a client site and we need to do a presentation like this, I turn it to in-memory and I don't need a database. And it runs just off my laptop, right? And like the other team before said, if I don't have a database yet, right, one of our clients had an old mainframe DB2, and the administrator said, no, we don't get access. So we went 4 months without access to the database. And we continued to work while the client was really confused on exactly how we can accomplish our tasks without access to the database. So it's a huge thing. And the version control is a pretty advanced concept. So I'm glad to see it in there.